Good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Hill, and I'm with the Huron Valley Chamber of Commerce. And I really would like to welcome Amanda Oswald and Mona Deigel from Oakland County, Michigan Works. And we're starting a little late, so hopefully we didn't exclude anybody, but we're on and you can still come on. Of course, no one's going to see this right now, but okay, so let's take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Oswald. I'm a business services coordinator for the Oakland County, Michigan Works in Novi. Mona is our business services supervisor. And today we're going to be talking about hiring virtually and navigating that digital world of HR services and how to stand out in a crowd when it comes to that. Most businesses have moved from in-person to virtual ways of hiring. And many businesses are looking to hire right now. So we thought this would be a good topic to discuss. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second here. All right.
It's working. Yay. It's the little things, right?
Yeah.
Especially on a Monday morning.
All right. Can you guys see the full screen version of this?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
It looks good.
All right. Okie dokie. So give me 1 second here. All right. So I want to welcome everyone and thank you all for coming. The first thing we're going to talk about is the platform. There's so many different types of platforms available to businesses right now with regards to hosting, hiring events, or interviews. So how do you know which one is going to be right for your business? The biggest thing that you need to do is take a look at how many people that you want to host and what the price is per month. The big thing with Skype that I definitely want to point out is the fact that they do not have the ability to have breakout sessions. So if you're hosting a hiring event and you've got a link and you've invited, say, 10 people to that event, having a breakout room is going to be super important because it gives you the ability to talk one-on-one with your candidate without 9 other people listening to that conversation. You also, if you're planning on recording, then this cloud storage here is going to be really important to you as well. All of these platforms have call-in capability, although Zoom and Skype, depending on the package that you have with them, that is going to be an added fee. And then, of course, you want to make sure that it works on all platforms. Now, with Google Meet, it doesn't work with Apple MacBook Pro products, but it does work across Android and Windows. It just doesn't work on Apple products.
Amanda, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
When has this been typical since our COVID-19 sequestering to do this on a platform like this, or has this been going on for a while? I don't know. It's an interesting thing for me. And I wonder if our businesses use this at all. I don't know.
Well, I think that it has been more of a thing since COVID-19 hit, just because when you're talking about interviewing people, those are people that may or may not wind up in your company. So many companies have gone to utilizing digital ways of doing interviews simply because it's safer for all parties involved. And they don't want to risk, having any type of exposure. So it's basically a company's way of being responsible with regards to the health issue that's going on in this country right now.
I can say, though, that there was virtual interviewing prior to the COVID lockdown because we were helping people with long distance ones, especially when maybe more of your higher level positions that were being interviewed like out of state and everything like that. So there were some virtual interviews that have been going on prior to this. They were not as frequently or as wide used or wide spanned as they are now, because the technology and the situation and the economy have pushed us into a more virtual world, and the amount of platforms that are available for virtual interviewing has, quadrupled because of this. And then there's been such an increase because of the demand. There's been a huge jump in the technology right now with the virtual interviewing and the virtual connections with people.
Absolutely. Did that answer your question, Jennifer?
Uh-oh, she froze.
Uh-oh.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Ugh.
All right. So once you've got your platform, and your platform can be utilized for interviews or you doing a hiring event. So what do you need to do once you've chosen your platform? You need to start thinking about your marketing and outreach. And this is a big deal right now. It's been a big deal for several years, but even more so right now is your virtual presence. With regards to social media, I have listed several of the ones that we utilize within the Michigan Works and Novi. But these are really important because it will expand upon not just your job description, but it's also going to give job seekers kind of a preview of what life in your company is like. So you definitely want to have your brand present on social media. That's hugely important. The vast majority of the working population utilizes some form of social media at this point. You can also promote your open positions or hiring events through your local Michigan Works office. We can even host your event. We will definitely post your open positions or your events on our social media channels. We do have the Oakland County Job Posting Board, and we have an extensive business resource network. And this is just a tip of the iceberg, if you will, with regards to some of the ways that we promote jobs through our organization. For virtual job fairs and hiring events, the first thing you need to ask yourself is whether you want to host an individual event or if you want to do a group event. And what I mean by group is it could be industry specific, or it could just be a larger multi-business, multi-industry job fair. Oakland County did one earlier this year and it was extremely successful. You need to think about the minimum time that you need to promote that event. I will say that right now some industries are hit harder than others, and so those may be more eager employers, but they are struggling to get job seekers to come on board. You can do flyers, you can create posts. We even develop our own QR codes to scan. A lot of people have smartphones these days. All you have to do is scan that QR code and it will open with your event information. And then make sure that you have access to breakout rooms for individual interviews if you decide that you're going to offer an individual a position right there on the spot. So what matters to job seekers? Because this is vastly important with regards to, whether or not you have a good turnout for your job posting or your event. Many people think that just the salary and the benefit package is all that job seekers are concerned with, and that's actually very far from the truth, especially these days. They want to know that you're invested in them, and that it's possible that you may offer them training to upskill their abilities within your organization. They want to know about the environment they're going to work in. Many job seekers are looking to see what your COVID-19 policy is and what PLT and sick leave policies that you have. Is there room to grow with your organization, and what benefits will you get out of it?
So when you start looking at the virtual aspect of hiring and everything, you got to, businesses are always like, okay, we got to get this out. But there is such it's a job seeker demand market right now because there's more open positions available, more jobs and more businesses seeking job seekers than there are job seekers seeking employment. So it is really kind of interesting environment right now, especially with the COVID and the in and outs of the businesses, as well as the ins and outs of unemployment being extended and then, you know, they're coming to a close. So we really don't know what the next year is going to be bringing, but job seekers are looking to see, okay, what is it? What kind of an environment? So it's really getting important to showcase the culture and the environment of the work area. Now that all differs from industry to industry, because there are some industries that are absolutely in-person industries that you just can't get away and make them virtual for that. So when we start looking at that industry, you got to look and see. And then there's, because with the in-person industries, they really have taken a lot of precautions, and there's a lot of guidance out there. So that's something that you really kind of need to showcase, to be like, we're an in-person culture or an in-person industry, but we've taken the steps to make sure that we are safe and we care about our employees, because that is what is, that flexibility is what's being sought after by a lot of job seekers.
Yeah, since employers have been moving to more virtual interview processes, definitely showcasing that environment is, you're spot on, Mona, because that job seeker doesn't really have the ability to just come into your business and see what it's like there. They don't get the tour that most of us are used to getting when we go for an interview. So we're encouraging employers to really showcase what it's like to be a part of their team. That's really important to job seekers right now. They aren't going to get to see it firsthand. So you kind of have to make some time to showcase that. So let's talk about compensation packages. This is where most employers, you know, they focus on this. So you need to be competitive, and you can look at wage information with the Department of Labor. So you need to make sure that the salary that you offer or the hourly wage that you offer is competitive. Definitely highlight things like your PLT or sick leave, whether there's, you know, room for advancement, and then again, that training, because these days job seekers are very concerned with a company's ability to invest in them as much as they're investing in a company. So that's super important. If you can't be competitive with the salary or hourly wage, you can get creative by offering things like bonuses or additional PLT time that an employee can earn. And you also want to make sure that you're considering every candidate, because we have veterans are a great resource for good skilled workers. You may consider upskilling your current workers. And you may even consider employees with barriers or the returning citizens. Those are just some other areas to look at.
Because what we need to do is showcase for the job seekers that there's a whole entire package, because a lot of businesses are strapped right now just because of the lockdowns and the close downs or the shutdowns or the slowdowns, that they're like, hey, we can't raise our hourly wage, or, you know, or some of them were like, hey, we were able to provide bonuses to maintain our people during the COVID, but then it's like, okay, moving beyond COVID, we're not going to be able to sustain that extra, like company that maybe paid an extra $10 an hour just to make sure that their people would stay with them, but that's not sustainable with the market and the supply and the demand and everything. So looking at the encompassing, like the whole package, and then selling that, because I know a lot of people will zero in on down on what is my hourly wage. So that way, if an employer can really showcase virtually through their job postings, through their social media, through their interview or the virtual hiring events, that they're more well-rounded and that they have this capability to provide these extra little nuances and these little extra little packages that people might not be able, they're not considering, or that kind of showcase them to say, okay, we do have a little bit of flex time, or we do have an on-site daycare, or we have a partnership with the daycare. So there's you have reduced or amount, or they have some shared expenses regarding that, because what COVID has really showed us is that there is some job seekers need extra support and supportive services. So if companies can't have that, or they aren't able to provide that, they can reach out and create partnerships that we've seen starting to happen within certain industries in order to support their workforces, to make sure that they can keep them or be able to attract new job seekers for that. So when you start looking compensation packages, it's not always boils down to money. It also boils down to some of the fringe benefits or the partnering that organizations can do to kind of help each other out and support each other in that. So that's something that, businesses can kind of consider if they haven't in the past.
I have a question for you. What does returning citizens mean?
Someone who made a mistake and ended up going to prison.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
It's a nice way of putting that. But
it's a nice way. Yeah, someone who has a barrier in their background because they made mistakes and they made bad choices. Yeah. When they first started using that term, I'm like, oh, they came back from Europe? No.
Yeah.
They came back out of Jackson.
Wow, they sound like great employees.
Some of them actually are. There's a couple businesses we work with that they've hired a few people, and they've out of the vocational village, and they've become some really good workers because they don't want to go back. So
yeah, yes, I would say so too. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We get that question a lot. Don't worry.
We do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about job descriptions. This is the holy grail of your open position. Job descriptions are extremely important because it's the first introduction of your business to a job seeker. And you're essentially pitching to them. You want to sell them on this job. So you need to write your job description in a way that it's easy to read. You spell out the skills needed and the duties that will be required of the person, their compensation. Again, we talk about culture in the workplace because that is so important, whether there's room to grow, training provided, and the COVID-19 policy. And the reason why this is so important is because if you think about it, it's your first line of defense. You basically need to be able to make it inviting so that a job seeker wants to come and work for your company. And maybe that job is going to be a stepping stone for that person, and they're looking to aim a little higher than their current skill set. You want to encourage that person to come on board because that's someone that you're going to get, you're going to have some loyalty from. So it's really important that you put a lot of effort into your job description. We post jobs on the Pure Michigan Talent Connect website, and the employers that we work with, they have accounts there and they post their jobs there as well. And whether you post on Pure Michigan Talent Connect or another job board like Indeed or Monster or any of those others, having a good job description that doesn't leave the reader questioning anything is really important. You don't want them to have questions. You want them to hurry up and apply for the job.
I have a question on the Pure Michigan Talent Connect.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that and for our listeners and what that means? And is there a cost involved in that? And where does it go and where is it hosted and all of that?
Well, so the Pure Michigan Talent Connect is essentially like a living job board. It has a whole host of things that include open positions by Michigan employers.
It is a state of Michigan job posting board for businesses and job seekers. So it is a statewide system that is managed through Lansing and through the state. So therefore it is supported with our tax dollars from businesses and the general tax dollars. It is free to all businesses and job seekers. When we're on non-COVID environment, anybody who is receiving any type of public assistance, unemployment, or even just regular job seekers, people who want to change their position or looking for, they can create a profile on the site. So it's a two-way street for job seekers to be able to find businesses, and then it's also a way for businesses to find job seekers so they can search for those employees that have their profile on there. It is all free to citizens and businesses within the state of Michigan.
I think that's important for us to get that out to our membership. I feel like sometimes we get questions about hiring, and that would be a great resource to know about, to say, you know, have you looked at this?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a phenomenal resource, because if you're even on there, because it's kind of a living, breathing site, and they've really increased it. So if anybody who's like job seekers are looking for like career advice or career assistance, even anyone from like young adults up to, you know, the 100-year-old can find it on there, because they have information on there about apprenticeships. They have videos about checking out the skilled trades and different types of in-demand markets. They have a whole section on for veterans and veteran services and veteran resources for businesses and job seekers. So it's not just one-sided. So if there's a business that has questions or needs some help or anything, there's a lot of resources on there. And then any business can always give us a call or reach out to us if they have questions about the Talent Connect, because we can help them with that as well.
Absolutely. So marketing and promoting your jobs is just as important as your job description at this point. Since, you know, the days of us going door to door with our resume are on pause, it's really important that you market your positions in places where your target audience looks. So that's another thing that you need to think about, is who is your preferred job seeker, and what types of marketing should you do to essentially encourage that person to apply for your job. So you need to make sure that you're marketing that out appropriately. And I'm going to talk a little more about how we do that in a couple of slides. So industry-specific events. Mona and I have been discussing this lately, and we know that, you know, the healthcare industry has been doing this for years, but not a whole lot of other industries have really jumped on board with doing industry-specific hiring events. But there's a lot of pros to doing it. The number one pro to having an industry specific event would be the number of attendees. We do tend to see a higher attendance level when there's multiple businesses hosting an event versus just one individual employer hosting an event. And if you do it industry specific, then the majority of the candidates should fit within your open positions. They will definitely fit within your industry. Many of those people are going to come with experience, and if you're partnering up with other businesses, then you're going to have more exposure, because they're going to post it out, they're going to share it with their, you know, resources and their networks, their social media accounts, all of that. So you're getting free marketing and advertising out of it as well. So I want to just briefly kind of go over what we do in our office and how we can help employers with their open positions or hiring events. First of all of the services at the Oakland County, Michigan Works are of no cost to job seekers or employers. We literally are like the matchmaker of resources and assets and our client. So we would promote your jobs through various channels. We have training partnerships, educational partnerships, multiple job boards, and then of course we have our own social media accounts and a vast business resource network that we would get that job out to. We will post your job to the Oakland County job board page. We can even do candidate searches in that Pure Michigan Talent Connect. We can put in the keywords and try to find people that are skilled and qualified for your positions. We can help with pre-screening those candidates. We can also host your job fair or your hiring event. If your company doesn't have access to one of these platforms, or you're not really in a position where you want to go ahead and invest in that, we can still help you with that, because we do have access to those platforms, and we can certainly set something up for you. In addition to all of that, there's a lot more that we do. Most recently, we assisted with the Going Pro Talent Fund, which is a grant program through the state of Michigan for businesses that are looking to send employees for training, whether they be new hires or incumbent workers. So we do quite a bit out of our office, and Oakland County as a whole. They will bend over backwards to help you.
And if we can, we always like to tell people we know people who can do it. So if it's something that is beyond our reach or beyond our scope, outside our lane, we do have partnerships, and we do know people, and that we will refer. We don't refer one over another. We can say, here's your choices and your options. This is what we can do. So, and a lot of companies have started to look at maybe with the training as creating apprenticeships. So we do help with the apprenticeships, setting that up and getting that information up and running. And apprenticeships are very wide range nowadays. They've really gone beyond what people think are the traditional ones. You know, the carpentry, electrical, plumbing. People think of those, but now we've been working with companies that have started within the healthcare. They have an apprenticeship for medical assistants. There's apprenticeships coming up and running. So there's a lot of conversation we can have to help someone grow in their own workforce as well, if that's something of interest to them.
Absolutely. So with that, this is our contact information here for anyone that is looking for assistance. We are looking to help you. And if there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask those, because we are at the end of the presentation.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
I know in the Huron Valley Chamber, what I hear the most as far as employment issues is our restaurants are having such a hard time, and you know, among many things, they're shut down, but they still have a hard time getting the people to work, and they're not able to do things that they want to do because they don't have the employees. Have you seen that as a whole in Oakland County?
Yes, across the board. I would say that the bulk of employers that I personally have spoken to in the last several months have expressed frustration, and they're desperate to get workers in. And that's part of when you start talking about the compensation package. Unfortunately, for jobs like in the service industry specifically, because that minimum wage is lower than most places, it's going to be really difficult to get people to come in there if they're currently on unemployment. Now, the thing is, though, is that the CARES Act funding only goes through December 26th. So all of those restaurant workers that were claiming unemployment, that unemployment for them is going to expire on December 26th, whether they have weeks left on the pandemic unemployment assistance claim or not. There has not been another stimulus package passed by the federal government as of this morning. And until that happens, and until there's some verbiage in there regarding extended unemployment benefits, then those people are going to be forced back to work. Basically by the end of the year. You know, they're all going to be coming back, and everyone's going to be looking for jobs at that point, provided that the government doesn't pass an additional funding for unemployment for extended purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, because with the restaurant industry too, there's a lot of transients between positions with the service industries. People do hop from restaurant to restaurant. So there's a lot of turnover naturally in that industry, especially since it's, you know, a lot of younger people are in high school, college, recently out of college, because it's an easy job. or I should say a little bit easier industry to manipulate and work around school schedules and things along those lines. So it is, yeah, it's unfortunate that industry has been hit really hard on all sides right now. And yeah, finding the people to come in and work, but because a lot of places, they have a hard time because they're not fully serviced yet. So they don't, some of them are like, hey, we have these hours that we need to get filled, but they can't, but they're still restricted and reduced hours. So they're not really working at full capacity either. So then it's just, it's a struggle for everybody right now, but we're still promoting and trying to find people and, to help fill those positions. So we haven't stopped looking, even though it is a little bit more of a challenge this year. But we're still looking to see what we can do to help find them.
Absolutely.
I have one other question about that. Do you do restaurant industry job fairs, or is that something maybe, we could do? And maybe not now, maybe a little bit later when we know how things are going to go in maybe January, February with the stimulus package, if we're going to get one or not. And to help, let's say, our Huron Valley restaurants, is that something, do you think that would go?
We can
Or
try
is
it
that-
and see.
Yeah, we could definitely try it. When we do our virtual events, it's not an open invitation. We promote it out. Roughly, we start about 3 weeks before the event, and then we stop promoting it about 3 days before the event. We don't actually stop promoting it, but we stop actively trying to invite people to it, because what happens is I'll do a candidate search in Pure Michigan Talent Connect and send an invitation to whoever I can find on there that is looking for that type of work or has experience in that type of work. If those people RSVP to the event by emailing me back, then I will provide them with the link for the event at that time. But we don't just publish out a link simply because we don't want anyone with ulterior motives to just come join, or it could be a competitor of one of the employers participating. You just never know what you're going to get. So we're pretty responsible in that regard. But we have not, Mona, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think that we have done a specific hiring event just for the service industry.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet. They were invited, and we did have several. When the Oakland County did the Oakland County virtual job fair in September, we had a wide range of industries. It wasn't specific, but I know moving forward at the county level, we have been discussing that, possibly doing another one with a couple industry-led specific job fairs. We're not sure which industries we're looking at yet. We're that's going to be coming probably after the new year. But I think it's something that we're willing to try to help. If the Huron Valley Chamber wanted to try it, we would definitely be interested in partnering with you guys to see what we can do for our small businesses, because I think they've been hit particularly hard, and I think there's a lot of resources out there to help them right now, and we would be interested in helping them out if possible.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that tomorrow the applications open there's an Oakland County small business grant, $15 million grant that is available to help small businesses that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So you can find that information on the Oakland County oakgov.com website. And if anyone is interested in applying for that grant, my email address is right here, and please feel free to shoot me an email. Jennifer, if you have any businesses within the chamber that you think might be a good fit to, apply for some funding, they can email me. I'll be happy to send them a link to the application and all of that, just to make it easier for them as well.
Thank you so much. We've been trying to push that out in our e-blasts and really talk it up with the restaurant owners, especially that we know that are struggling. We're trying to do as much as we can. So.
Good, absolutely.
We're so worried about them. Okay, well, thank you so much, you guys. I think this was a great, I can't wait to share this. I hope people find this. And, you know, thanks a lot, Mona. And thank you for
You're
Amanda for coming today and sharing your expertise. And you've enlightened me, and I hope that I can pass some of this information on to people. Well, I hear it out when we're working with events and talking to business owners that they're having trouble with finding employees, and this will be a great resource for them, I think.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
All right.
Well,
Thank you
so
very
much
much.
for having us, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.
Yep. Good.
Great.
All right.